Just before we get into this video, I want to apologise for the croakiness that happens in my voice in this voiceover. I've got a couple of conditions that are flaring up, but I needed to get this video out today. But I have done the best I can with the voice I have, and I really hope the croakiness doesn't detract from the video too much. Enjoy the challenge. Welcome back to From the Archives, the series where we take a look at some of the runs that never quite made it to air, we dissect them down and we find out exactly why. And this one's going to be a doozy. It got all the way to the voiceover stage when I noticed a huge error, and that meant I couldn't bring Tangela to air. So strap yourselves in because this is going to be a 42-minute long video. By far the longest video we've seen together here on the channel in a very long time. And this is, of course, part of the From the Archives series, and that means you wonderful HM friends, you get early access to this video for quite some time, and then we release it to the public a little bit later on. And if you are interested in early access, there are two ways you can go about it, either here on YouTube via the channel membership, or at patreon.com/trainersquidgy. Both ways will get you early access to all of the videos we do together here on the channel, and you get some bonus footage like this particular challenge as well. And now let's take a look at the stats of our Tangela. We are level 5 with 22 HP. We are of course holding that all-important berry, and our two moves are Constrict and Sleep Powder. We've got 10 in attack, 17 in defense, 15 in special attack, 9 in special defense, and 11 in speed. Those are the stats of this quite frankly abysmal Pokemon we're going to be running, so let's get the timer underway and let's see just how bad this challenge is. We're going to see our very first wild encounter is a level 2 Rattata. We're going to send it to sleep, and then we've got the arduous task of knocking this thing out. Constrict is bad enough on its own, but when you have low attack and you don't have stab on it, it's even worse. And this really did set off the Tangela challenge on a very, very sour note. Because as it stands, we've got absolutely nothing at the moment that's going to take care of Falkner. We've got a long way to go until we even see Falkner though, and the first thing we'll have to do is get on the grind. And the first thing we're going to do is deplete all of our moves and then get to struggling against Wild Poliwag. This is going to be our best opportunity to be able to train up fairly consistently. We survive on 1 HP against this Poliwag, we grow to level 8, and it was at that time I thought we could take on the rival. Constrict is going to be absolutely useless, so we're going to go in with Struggle. We use it on turn 1 to take Cyndaquil into the green, another turn takes it into the red, and then one final Struggle knocks it out, and in 6.5 minutes we are through the rival for the first time. And now it's been about 3 months worth of content where we've been doing the incredibly nippy edits, and I cannot believe just how slow paced these videos used to be. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with all of you, I'm really not enjoying this slow-paced video compared to the punchier ones we do these days. There was a little bit of world building that went into the older videos, but those storylines all came to a natural conclusion. And now that we've got 3 different games on the go with Fire Red, Emerald and Crystal, I really don't think the slow-paced edits will work anymore. And throughout the course of this video, in between the gym battles, I'll take you through some of my logic as to why I do the punchier edits these days. But now I am pleased to say we can take on our first gym leader together. This is Falkner, he's a flying type specialist and he leads with Pidgey. We're going to make the Pidgey take a nap and then we'll get to drinking its health. There really isn't anything too good we can do against Falkner, but I didn't want to grind all the way up to level 13. Instead we're going to grin and bear it and try and hope for the best. And the one thing I will say in Tangela's favour is we have an awful lot of physical defence, and I think that's going to be key to getting through this battle. Gust is going to be super effective, but of course it's not going to do that much damage. Absorb, however, is doing very little damage against this Pidgeotto. We're going to keep sending it to sleep, and then we're going to keep drinking it. Even if we only regain 1 HP at a time, that's still better than nothing. We get a lucky critical hit and regain a couple of HP there, and we can finally knock this thing out with 2 further absorbs, and that means we have defeated Falkner and we obtain the Zephyr badge in a time of 16 minutes and 10 seconds. Goodness me, what an ordeal that was, and I don't think it's going to get much better from here on out. Let's now make our way towards Azalea Town, and one thing I want to say is I'm going to be recording this voiceover piece by piece. There's absolutely no way my voice will be able to hold out at the moment doing 42 minutes all consecutively, so if you do find there are some cuts that seem a little bit awkward, it's just because I've had to record this piece by piece to make sure that this actually got done. Now we've got a little bit of time once more until we get to our next important battle, and one of the reasons I've decided to condense the videos is because by this point we all know the routing together here on Pokemon Crystal. If you're new to the channel, you can always go back to some of the older videos. They especially go into great detail about the routing, and I am still planning on doing that Generation 2 Challenge Run tutorial video. But honestly, I have no idea where I'm even going to begin with that one. It's something I've been trying to do for around about 1.5 years now, and I just cannot get the inspiration to do it correctly. I think what I'll have to do is I'll just have to record as live and do a live voiceover. But now, in a change of sequence to a regular video, I decided to try and take on the second rival battle before Bugsy. We're going to be weak to Fury Cutter, and I thought if we could get access to the forest, we'd be able to grind up and get some more levels that we'd need for Tangela to be able to make it through the Bugsy battle. It was going very well at the beginning of this battle. We got through the first Ghastly with relative ease, and then even though it feels like it's taking a lifetime to knock out this Zubat, we're not actually taking that much damage at all. Constrict is doing a little bit, and we can easily send it back to sleep. Sleep in Generation 2 lasts for up to 6 turns, and that really can be a big boon for a Pokemon like Tangela, who we have to rely on the stalling strategies to get through these battles with. We send the Quilava to sleep, and then we swap to Vine Whip. A critical hit did around about 1/3 worth of damage, but then he crits us and Ember knocks us out. So we're going to go back on the grind, and we're going to have another battle that feels like it's taking an absolute eternity. It's against one of the bug catchers here in Bugsy's gym that we're going to grow up to level 20. We're still not going to be able to take out Bugsy at level 20, however I do think we'll stand a better chance of getting through the rival. Of course, to get through the rival we're going to have to do the whole Constrict malarkey against Zubat again, but we're not even thinking about that at the moment. We've got to get through a Kakuna and then a Beedrill on top of that as well. So once again we're sending everything to sleep, and we're just going to try and whittle away as much of the enemy's health as we possibly can. It really is a slow start to Tangela, and it's not going to get much quicker from here on out. Although I will say this is the very first time I've knocked out a Beedrill, and after I knocked it out I was celebrating almost as much as I do when I defeat Red. That is how bad Tangela is. But joy unleashed, we finally knocked out that pesky Beedrill, and we can give the rival another shot. Strap yourselves in everybody, it's time for another slow as heck Rival 2 battle. We really have nothing great for this rival battle, so once again we're just going to have to dig our heels in and hope for the best. It's a 2-shot on Ghastly now, which is an improvement, but it's still going to be a 5,000 shot against the Zubat. Constrict is still our best move against this benighted thing. And watching this back now, about 18 months removed from this challenge, I'm suddenly filled with a huge sense of dread, because we still have to do Tangela for the main challenge leaderboard. This video will not count as its main challenge, because of the big misplay we're going to be seeing later. Let's look on the bright side though. We have critical hit the Quilava, and that gives us the health we need to knock it out, and we are through the second rival battle in 33 minutes and 21 seconds. In these older videos, I always used to show us picking up every single HM and TM that we used throughout the course of the challenge, so we do pick up cuts from the Charcoal Maker, and we'll make our way back into Azalea Gym where we'll take on Bugsy for the first time. He is of course the Bug-type specialist who leads with Metapod. We're going to send the Metapod to sleep, and then we'll start constricting for a couple of turns. PP management is a big thing in this particular battle, because we don't have anything particularly great for any of his Pokemon, so we have to conserve our Vine Whip and absorb PP for where it matters. But we do knock out the Metapod, and we've moved on to the Kakuna. We end up getting poisoned though, and there's not a cat in hell's chance we're going to defeat Bugsy now, so we're going on the grind. The grind in the cave is better than the grind in the forest, because we're going to have more Pokemon that we can knock out consistently. And after spending 5 whole minutes to get just 2 levels, we'll take Bugsy on for the second time. We're now level 22, let's see if that makes a difference whatsoever. So let's strap ourselves in and knuckle down for what will be an excruciatingly long Bugsy fight. We're going to send the Metapod to sleep once again, and we're going to start drinking it. If we drink it, at least we regain some of the HP we lose when it tackles us, and we knock it out in a few hits, and we are on to Kakuna. We send the Kakuna to sleep, and then we're going to start Vine Whipping it. And Vine Whip is going to do the best damage output against the Kakuna, but we do of course need to save some Vine Whips for the Scyther. The Kakuna wakes up, we send it straight back to sleep, and we are not risking getting paralysed. We drink the Kakuna's final health, and here comes that pesky Scyther. We need to send this thing to sleep quick, sharp, and in a hurry. We do it on turn number 3, and then we get to Vine Whipping. A critical hit barely tickles the Scyther. I think it's only doing 1 extra damage. We send the Scyther back to sleep so that Fury Cutter doesn't build up. Another critical hit takes it into the yellow. A third critical hit knocks it down even further. Scyther wakes up once more, so we send it straight back to sleep, and we get to Vine Whipping again. It's in the red now, but we have ran out of Vine Whip. We swap to Absorb for the final 2 turns as it wakes up. We survive on 29 HP, and we obtain our second badge, the Hive badge, in 40 minutes and 38 seconds. Goodness me, this is feeling worse than Magikarp at this point. Let's now make our way through the forest once more, and we can get a decent normal type move in Headbutt. Thank goodness for that. Headbutt is going to be the saving grace of the next part of this challenge. So we're going to get rid of Constrict and pretend it never existed, and we can start making our way towards Goldenrod City. Now, we've got a little bit of time before we take on Whitney, and I just want to talk more about the punchier edits again. I appreciate by the end of this video I'll probably sound like a bit of a broken record, but another reason why I'm doing the punchier edits is to make Pokemon like Tangela much more bearable when it comes to the content creation side of things. Pokemon that are incredibly slow to get through the game take a lot of mental energy to edit, to voice, and to play. And that trio of different elements coming together makes some of the content creation not particularly enjoyable. I especially remember the Shuckle video with this, because Shuckle was an hour-long spectacular video. It was the hardest challenge we had done to date, but when I uploaded it, the video flopped. It was the worst performing video out of the last 10 that I had uploaded, even though that video had 4 or 5 times the amount of effort going into it. But it is now time to take on Whitney. She's our third gym leader together, a normal type specialist who leads with Clefairy. It's 2 Vine Whips on the Clefairy to knock it out, and we'll send the cow to sleep. We're going to make sure that she cannot build up her rollouts whatsoever, and then we'll get to Vine Whipping. It's 3 Vine Whips to knock it out, and thank goodness we've had a relatively easy gym battle. Playing badge acquired in 47 minutes and 4 seconds. Now, we were talking about the Shuckle video before the Whitney fight, and that really was one of the turning points that made me reconsider how I do the edits here on the channel. But at the time I decided to stick it out and persevere, because that was back in August last year and I was having a relatively good period of both physical and mental health at the time. And such is the nature of the beast of content creation. Sometimes a video that you put a lot of effort in doesn't take off at all, and then other videos that are little silly ones end up being your most popular videos on the channel. But then much later on last year, that's when I discovered the lump. And that's when I ended up having to take a little bit of an extended break from content creation because my mental health was ruined. I didn't know what this lump was at the time, and I really was scared that it was going to be something incredibly serious. In February this year, I did try coming back a little bit earlier than I probably should have done, because I was still waiting for surgery at the time, and little did I know it was going to be another 5 months after that time. But if you look back at those videos, I believe it's Scyther, Blissey, Politoed and Primeape that I did, you can tell my soul wasn't into it at all. I was just doing it to try and get some content out there again, and I really wasn't enjoying myself, which is why I then decided to take the much extended mental health break. I did a few streams here and there in the interim period, but I'm going to be honest with you all, I didn't know if I was going to come back to content creation, because my mental health was at an incredibly low point. I didn't know what this thing was growing on me, and I didn't know if it was dangerous or if I needed to be worried. But now it is time for our next key battle. This is the third rival battle in the Burnt Tower, and he's going to lead with Haunter. And I tell you what, I do not know what possessed me to pick up Hidden Power Electric of all types. The only thing I can think of is it was around about that time when I was recording these challenges, there were a few complaints that I overused Hidden Power Ice here on the channel, so I decided to go for Hidden Power Electric to still give us something to take out flying types. But in hindsight, that was an incredibly bad move. Even something like Hidden Power Fire or Hidden Power Water would have been better than Hidden Power Electric. And I will say that that isn't the misplay that I noticed when I went to edit and voice this thing first time. So we've got yet another misplay to add to the misplay pile here. And looking at it now, if we weren't going to go for Hidden Power Ice, which is clearly the best option, we should have gone for something like Hidden Power Water or Hidden Power Fire instead. Hidden Power Water would have taken care of all the fire type threats, but Hidden Power Fire would have taken care of those pesky steel types. We eventually get through Rival 4 in 57 minutes and 57 seconds, and now we can start getting ourselves prepared for the next gym battle. It's going to be Morty's Ghost and Poison Dual Type Spectacular, and because all of his Pokemon do share the Poison type, it means we are going to have to be relying exclusively on Hidden Power Electric. Ghastly is a simple one-shot with Hidden Power Electric, so we're on to Haunter number 1. That's another one-shot, and we're holding the Minceberry in case of Gengar shenanigans. As it turns out, Hypnosis misses, and that means we have a very easy end of the battle. It's 2 shots against the Haunter to knock it out. We grow to level 35 and we get the Fog Badge in 1 hour and 20 seconds. And there isn't too long to wait now until our next gym battle, because the only thing we need to do between Morty and Chuck is get the secret potion from the dodgy shop here on Cianwood City. And with that safely tucked away in our bag, we can make our way into our 5th gym together. This is of course going to be Chuck's fighting type gym, and he's going to lead with Primeape. And I will say, in terms of gym battles for Tangela, this is going to be one of the easiest. We 2-shot the Primeape, Poliwrath's Hypnosis misses, and then we 2-shot that to knock it out, and we obtain our next badge, the Storm Badge, in 1 hour, 2 minutes and 51 seconds. It's in between Chuck and Pryce, of course, that we have our first big slog of the game. The Mahogany Underground feels like such a waste of time. I appreciate that the intended order is actually to go to the Mahogany Underground as soon as you've beaten Morty, but that makes no sense because you get Fly all the way over in Cianwood City. And so in order to fast travel quickly in the game, we end up going to Cianwood City and taking on Chuck before we even think about doing the Lake of Rage, and that means everything's really underleveled by that point. But now it's time to take on our 6th gym leader together. This is Pryce, the Ice type leader, and he's going to lead with Seal. And this is one of those gyms where we have the type disadvantage. And if we weren't the grass type, I could have seen a school of thoughts here that maybe suggests that we should be using Hidden Power Electric for the Ice type gym. But once again, we would have been better off with Hidden Power Fire. Even Hidden Power Ice would have done great here, because it would have been neutral against the Piloswine. But instead we're resorting to the same old sleep strategies. We can't even one-shot Dugong with Vine Whip, which is kind of embarrassing for Tangela, and Vine Whip isn't able to do a one-shot on the Piloswine either. The good news is this time he gets caught in a healing loop, we grow to level 40, and we decline the option to learn Slam. That is the Glacier Badge acquired in 1 hour, 9 minutes and 28 seconds. And it's at this point in the challenge where we normally do a little bit of housekeeping. And have you spotted the big misplay yet? We didn't learn Mega Drain, and I have no reason for not learning Mega Drain. It's got the same amount of PP as Vine Whip, it's 5 extra power, and of course it heals you as well, so there was no reason not to take it. And that, my friends, is the big reason why this video never made it to air at the time, because I knew it was such a big cock-up that there was absolutely no way I could justify it in the comments when I inevitably got a bunch of people saying, why didn't you learn Mega Drain? Most of the time there's a perfectly legitimate reason for why I do or don't learn a move in a particular place, but this time I've got nothing. It was just a really bad error of judgment. But anyway, let's take on another gym leader together. This is Jasmine, the Steel type leader. She's our 7th gym leader and she leads with Magnemite. Yet again, I really wish we had Hidden Power Fire. That would have made this battle so much easier. As it stands, we're once again going for the sleep strategies. And for goodness sake, our Hidden Power can't even hit this pesky Steelix. That means we're going to have to get her caught in a healing loop, and we're just relying on critical hit luck. We get incredibly lucky and actually do critical hit the Steelix, and that brings us on to the final Magnemite. Sleep Powder misses, so we end up being parafused, and here is where the battle could have started falling out of our control. Thank goodness Sleep Powder hits here, because that gave us an in to knock out the Magnemite. And that, combined with the Generation 2 sleep mechanics, means we 3-shot the Magnemite, and we get the Mineral Badge in a time of 1 hour, 13 minutes, and 51 seconds. Right, let's head over to Goldenrod City. We'll try and take the train to escape this horrible run. It doesn't happen though. And that means we're going to take on the rival for the 4th and penultimate time. This time he leads with Golbat, and Hidden Power Electric is useful for once because we one-shot it. Of course, Hidden Power Ice would have done the same, but we're not going to ruin that single moment of celebration for Hidden Power Electric. We're going to 2-shot the Quilava with Hidden Power as well, and here comes another pesky Magnemite. We get paralysed because of course Sleep Powder misses on turn number 1, and we're going to have to try headbutting this thing. It really is our best option to get through the Magnemite, and suddenly the rival only has 2 Pokemon left. We take a teeny tiny bit of damage from a Shadow Ball, and then we end up being fully paralysed for a turn. Hidden Power Electric doesn't quite one-shot the Haunter, but we knock it out on turn number 2, and that just leaves Sneasel Pleasel left to go. We send it to sleep and we start Vine Whipping, we get a critical hit on turn 1, we knock it out on turn 2, and we dispose of the rival in 1 hour, 19 minutes and 44 seconds. And it's just after taking on the rival, we learn the most important move of this entire challenge, because we learn growth, and we're now able to do something that Bellsprout can do at level 6. So way to go Tangela, you are now slightly less useless than you were before. I recorded this Tangela challenge on the 1st of July 2023, so we're well over 12 months removed from the actual gameplay of this particular challenge, but I will say it still frustrates me watching this Pokemon, and I still don't have anything positive to say about it whatsoever. And I am really sorry if you're a Tangela enjoyer, because this video is just turning out to be a 42-minute whinge fest about how much I dislike this species. And I really do think it's just flawed from the start, because a physically bulky but specially weak grass-type Pokemon is never going to do well. But at long last, we have made our way into our final Johtonian gym together. This is Clair's Dragon-type gym, and she leads with Dragonair. Our strat here is to set up against the Dragonair and hope for the best. Once again, Hidden Power Ice would have saved the day here, because instead of wasting all this time setting up and dodging a paralysis, we could have just gone straight in for the KO against all 3 of the Dragonair, and then we would have had a neutral Vine Whip, or even better, it would have been Mega Drain to knock out the Kingdra. But as it stands, we're having to do the big grind to get our special attack all the way up to 612. And can you believe that even with 621 in special attack, it's not a guaranteed one-shot on all 3 of these Dragonair. Fortunately though, the Purse-Cure Berry kicks in to save the day, and we can one-shot the Kingdra to defeat Clair once and for all, and we obtain her badge, the Rising Badge, in a time of 1 hour, 34 minutes and 29 seconds. And with that, we have all 8 Johtonian gym badges acquired, and that means we can start heading towards Victory Road. It is of course a quick surf east from New Bark Town. We cycle up routes 26 and 27, and we make our way into Victory Road, where the rival's waiting to ambush us for one final time, and this time he's going to lead with Sneasel Pleasel. And once again we're going to send the Sneasel to sleep, and then we'll try setting up. Even if Sneasel wakes up, it's not going to be the end of the world. Fury Cutter's super effective, but we've got so much bulk behind us that it's barely going to be tickling us, and when it builds up a little bit, we can send the Sneasel back to sleep and continue to set up our growth. We're going to get all the way up to maximum special attack here, and then we're going to try and sweep. That's going to be our best option. Hidden Power Electric's useful once again against the Golbats here, and here comes Typhlosion. We use Hidden Power Electric to knock it out in 1, and the next Pokemon is Magneton. Vine Whip strong enough to knock out Magneton in 1 hit this time. We'll swap back to Hidden Power Electric for the Haunter, and the final Pokemon is Kadabra. Vine Whip takes care of the Kadabra once and for all, and we're through the rival in 1 hour, 40 minutes and 8 seconds. And with that, at long last, we're at the Pokémon League, so we're going to heal up our Pokémon whether we need it or not, and we'll say thank you to the HM friends. So it's a big thank you to Kenya, to Abra, to Psyduck, and merci to Paris. You'll get yourself some lovely rest in the Costa del PC box, while Tangela prepares to take on the Pokémon League. We'll buy our full restores, we'll either need them or we won't. And now, of course, before we go into the league, we're going to take a look at our stats of our Tangela. We are level 53 and this time we have 159 HP. We're holding the Miracle Seed and our 4 moves are Vine Whip, Growth, Sleep Powder and Hidden Power Electric. In terms of our stats, we've got 100 in attack, 165 in defense, 150 in special attack, 87 in special defense and 104 in speed. Those, of course, are the outer battle stats. We'll get a big buff in battle, as we'll see now, against Will. He's our first league member, a psychic-type specialist who leads with Xatu. And I have to say, we get off to a pretty abysmal start here in the Pokemon League. We get confused by Xatu, we don't manage to send it to sleep, Psychic critical hits us, and we take a reset. So let's try that again, shall we? We're going to send the Xatu to sleep straight away this time. We can start increasing our special attack. I decide that 3 growths should be enough to get us through this battle. We knock out the Xatu, we can move on to the Jinx. And even with 3 growths, Vine Whip is not enough to knock out Jinx in 1 turn. I am really ruining the decision that we didn't get Mega Drain. We're going to send the Executor to sleep because we have nothing great against it. And instead we're just going to keep boosting our special attack again. We do eventually one-shot the Executor with Hidden Power Electric. We'll do the same against the Xatu. And then we get a bit of a reprieve at the end of the battle because Slowbro's another one-shot as well. That's Will defeated in a time of 1 hour 42 minutes and 4 seconds. Let's move on to Koga. He's a poison type specialist who leads with Ariados, and Koga is particularly scary. We are a pure grass type, so it's not going to be like a lot of the grass types where poison runs neutral. We're going to have to keep sending this Ariados to sleep, and once again we're going to have to keep boosting our special attack. Ariados keeps using Double Team, which is fine by us because it's not hitting us, and then he does something we very rarely see. He baton passes over to Venomoth, but we one-shot Venomoth with Hidden Power Electric, so all that setup that Ariados did was for nothing, Koga. We'll send the Mug to sleep just to be safe, but it turns out to be a one-shot with Hidden Power Electric, and that brings us on to his Crobat. Our special attack is more than capable of knocking out Crobat in 1 single hit, and the final Pokemon is going to be Fortress. Growth absolutely saved the day in that battle as we get through Koga in a time of 1 hour 43 minutes and 4 seconds. Up next is Bruno, the fighting type specialist who leads with Hitmontop. Hitmontop's a great Pokemon to set up against because it doesn't have any stab moves and it also doesn't hit us particularly hard. And yet again, if only we had Mega Drain on the learn set instead of Vine Whip, some of these ranges would have been simple one-shots instead. As it stands, we're going to set up against the Hitmonchan instead and just get to sweeping after there. It's one shot on Hitmonchan, it's one shot on Hitmonlee, out comes the Machamp, and yet again it's going to be another one-shot, and the final Pokemon is Onix. Onix is 4 times weak to grass, so it's a simple one-hit to knock it out. We are through Bruno in a time of 1:43.58. Let's now take on Karen, the bane of many a challenge runner's existence, and she leads with Umbreon. And in case you're wondering why we've not done the HP up strategy, this video was recorded a very long time before the HP up strat was discovered, so we're going to go for the backup strat of sending the Umbreon to sleep and hoping that we don't get sand attacked. We are fine hitting ourselves in confusion because we've got such bulk behind us that it doesn't really matter. We'll send the Umbreon to sleep once more and then we'll get to boosting our special attack even more. And I don't know about you, but I think 702 special attack growing to 715 should just about do it. We one-shot the Umbreon, we one-shot the Vileplume, and here comes Houndoom. Yet again, it's another one-shot to knock it out, and the final 2 Pokemon are going to be Gengar and Murkrow. And why change the habit of a lifetime? We're going to keep using Hidden Power Electric against both of those. We knock them out in 1 hit apiece, and we are through Karen in a time of 1 hour 45 minutes and 16 seconds. There's only one obstacle between us and the Hall of Fame now. It's time for Lance, the Liar with the Flyers, who leads with Gyarados. And we all know the drill by now. We send the first Pokemon to sleep, we start setting up growth, and then we try and sweep. We're going to try and see how long this Gyarados stays asleep for, and we get the full sleep turns against it. That means we are in very good stead for being able to sweep Lance from here. It's a one-shot with Hidden Power Electric on the Gyarados. It's going to run neutral on all 3 of the Dragonites, but we're capable of one-shotting the first Dragonite. We take a little bit of damage from Aerodactyl before we knock it out. We outspeed the Charizard, so we're not getting a flamethrower to the face. And now there's only 2 Dragonite left to go. We get rid of the level 15 one, and that means it's guaranteed to be a one-shot on the level 47. We grow to level 58 and we are through Lance in a time of 1 hour 16 minutes and 17 seconds. And our Hall of Fame time is 1:46:34. That is of course only half the story. We've got another 8 gym badges plus a red fight left to come, so don't you dare go anywhere. Kanto is next. Goodness me, what a stressful first half of that challenge run it was. We've still got another 8 gym badges left to go. In order to get to Kanto though, we're going to need to say hello to Professor Elm, pick up the SS tickets, and we're going to need to withdraw the HM friends. So it's a warm welcome back to Kenya, Abra, Psyduck and Paris. I hope you all had a wonderful rest while Tangela was taking on the Pokémon League, and now there are only a couple of bits we need to do before we head into Kanto proper. We'll pick up the first rare candy from Mount Mortar, the second one from the Whirl Islands, and then with a hop, skip and a jump, we find ourselves in Kanto. And of course, the first thing we do in Kanto is the last thing we do in Johto. We're going to get another rare candy, this time from the chairman of the Pokemon fan club. And if you have just recently joined the channel, that is why we always say that. Even though these days we don't show picking up those 2 final rare candies in Johto. And we are really showing the age of this challenge run now, because instead of going into Lieutenant Surge's gym, we're going to take on Erica first and do our very old Kantonian routing. So Erica is our first Kantonian gym leader, and she leads with a Tangela just like us. And honestly, I feel for poor old Erica here. Having a Tangela is not something I would wish on my worst enemy, especially because her Tangela is able to send us to sleep before we're able to send hers to sleep. It won't matter in the end though, because once we send her Tangela to sleep, we'll start setting up the growth, and then we'll be able to sweep from here. But goodness me, it is a slog trying to set up against this pesky Tangela, especially when it keeps trying to send us back to sleep as well. We do eventually get the in we need to set up our special attack all the way up into the 700s, and with that we're going to start using Hidden Power. It's a one-shot on the Tangela, it's going to be a one-shot on the Victory Bell as well. She'll send out Blossom next, and it ends up being a 2-shot even with our max special attack, but Jump Up is a nice and easy way to finish this battle. It's a simple one-shot because Electric is neutral. We obtain the Rainbow Badge in a time of 1 hour 52 minutes and 35 seconds, and we finally have something to replace Vine Whip. We get the Giga Drain TM off Erica, and now the rest of this challenge has become an awful lot easier. And now, as always, we are going to spend a little bit of time doing our regular Kanto chat, so if you do want to skip ahead to the blue fight, it's going to be at 35 minutes and 53 seconds. For everyone else, let's take this opportunity to sit back, unwind and have a little chat. And in this one, I think what I mainly want to do is recap some of the things we've covered in this mammoth challenge run video, and go a little bit more in detail about my logic and thinking about the punchier edit style and what it means for the future of the channel. So as we were talking about a little bit earlier on in this run, when I came back in February this year, I still did the long form edits, and I really was not into it at all. If you watch those videos back now, you'll probably be able to tell the little signs that I wasn't particularly enjoying what I was doing. A lot of that, of course, came from the mental side effects of not knowing when my surgery was going to be, not knowing what the condition was, and not knowing whether it was going to be life-threatening or life-inhibiting. As it turns out, the growth was completely benign, so that was a big load off my mind, but I was also dealing with a lot of creative burnout. We'd spent 18 months or so weaving this world in Pokemon Crystal, and I really found that I got as much narrative as I possibly could out of the characters we currently show in the challenge runs. There's only so much I can do with Jasmine, there's only so much I can do with Lance. 3Drill doesn't really have a backstory behind him, and then the rest of the gym leaders and main characters we see throughout the course of the challenge didn't really have anything that I could latch onto and make a proper storyline out of. The only reason Jasmine became a thing was because in the early days we struggled against the Steelix. Lance's whole shtick comes from the fact that he has a team full of flying type Pokemon, and he of course has the audacity to call himself a dragon type trainer. And then 3Drill came about purely by accident, because no matter what I did, I always seemed to encounter him when I was cycling south of Pewter after defeating Brock. But other than that, we don't really have any characters we can build around at the moment. I am still racking my brains trying to think of something creative to do with Johto, but I'm drawing blanks at the moment. So for the time being, until I find another storyline I want to tell, we're going to be focusing on just the key battles in the Johto games. But the good news is we are going into Gen 3 Kanto and we're going into Hoenn as well, and that gives us 2 new games to try and get more storylines. And you never know, as we start to get familiar with Generation 3, we could end up with some storylines for some of the characters which we wouldn't expect in those games. We do of course have 2 regions to explore with Kanto and Hoenn, and Hoenn especially is such a large region that I'm fairly confident that I'll be able to pick out some key characters and start threading a little bit of a narrative with those instead. And the other thing I want to touch upon is the fact that these shorter video edits make Pokemon like Tangela a much more pleasant experience when it comes to creating the videos. It would be incredibly unsustainable for me to do 2 to 3 30 to 45 minute videos every single week. And with the way I work, I've found I'm not able to limit myself to 1 single video a week, because if I do that I get distracted, I focus on something else, and suddenly we have no content at all for the channel. And so by having 3 videos a week where we mostly show the key battles and little bits of interesting things in between, I've found I've got a really good rhythm going now. And a lot of that is because I've changed completely how I work here on the channel. Instead of doing videos in small batches, I'm now doing incredibly large batches. So each batch is around about 12 to 15 videos at a time. I'm playing them, I'm editing them, and I'm voicing them over in advance. But of course this video has to be the exception to the rule. I'm voicing it over on the same day it's due to go live. This is actually my 4th voiceover of the day and my voice is really starting to feel it now. For those of you who watch the streams, you'll know I've got a couple of underlying conditions, and one of them means I produce excess phlegm and mucus, and that can attach itself onto my vocal cords, so that's why sometimes I'm a little bit hoarse in the voiceovers, but I am nothing if not stubborn. So we're going to keep persevering, and now it is time to rejoin the action here at Blue. He's our final gym leader of the challenge and he leads with Pidgeot. And much like we have throughout the entire course of this challenge, we're going to send the Pokemon to sleep and then we're going to set up as many growths as we can. And the beauty of Pidgeot being a physical attacker is even if it wakes up and hits us with a wing attack, it's going to barely tickle us whatsoever, and we can send the Pidgeot back to sleep and knock it out with a hidden power electric. That's 1 down, 5 more to go. The second Pokemon is Executor, and we're going to use Giga Drain against that, and with our huge 841 special attack, it's a simple one-shot. We'll Hidden Power Electric the Arcanine to take care of that in 1 hit, and the next Pokemon is Alakazam. Reflect is pointless for Alakazam because we're purely a special attacking Pokemon, and we'll swap to Hidden Power Electric for the Gyarados. It's last chance saloon now for Blue as he sends out his Rhydon. It's 4 times weak to Giga Drain, we knock it out in 1, and we earn our final gym badge, the Earth Badge, in a time of 2 hours, 6 minutes and 17 seconds. And that does of course mean we have all 16 gym badges required to unlock Mount Silver. So we'll fly to Pallet Town and have a little chat with Professor Oak. He'll chastise us for not filling out our Pokédex, even though that's not our main criteria for this challenge run. We'll cycle over to Mount Silver, we'll pick up the final rare candy of the challenge, and we'll make our way into the cave. And here it is, the final battle of the challenge. It's Red, a mixed type specialist who leads with Pikachu. And the first thing to note is that we are slower than Pikachu. We're going to send it to sleep, but of course Pikachu does have full restores that can be used on it, so we're going to have to factor that in as we try to set up. The good news is we don't need to worry about Charm in this particular battle, because we only have special attacking moves on the learn set. The big threat, however, is going to be the Charizard, because our special defense is quite frankly abysmal, and we're not going to outspeed the Zard, so we have to grow enough times to make sure we can one-shot Charizard, while still trying to retain as much HP as possible to tank a flamethrower. And then at level 66, all that setting up we did against Pikachu went to waste because we ended up getting paralysed. We're going to try again, this time at level 69. We'll see if we do any better this time. So we start the process all over again. We send the Pikachu to sleep, this time Thunder misses, and we start our growths. We can probably afford to tank a single Thunder as long as we don't get paralysed. We are going to be regaining our health courtesy of the leftovers, and every turn we set up we're also regaining some HP passively. Combine that with Giga Drain, which is going to drink the opponent's health, and we should get onto the Charizard in a relatively good condition. Even at maximum special attack, it's going to be a 3-shot against this Venusaur, but that's absolutely fine because this Venusaur seems to love taking a nap. 3 hidden power electrics later and it goes down, and here comes Charizard. We don't outspeed, and then Flamethrower is a 1-shot, and we're back to square one. We're going to use another 3 rare candies and try again at level 72. We've gotten very lucky throughout the course of this challenge in the sense that Tangela's special defense really hasn't come into play that much. Most of the hard hitters we come across in the Generation 2 challenge run are physical attackers. It's only when we get into the red fight that the special defense comes into play and really does expose a great weakness with Tangela. But we're still going to give it our best shots. We'll try setting up against the Pikachu once more, and we'll see exactly how well we go against the Charizard. Unfortunately, to see the Charizard, we need to do the full setup, otherwise we're not going to be able to get past that pesky Venusaur. So we knock out the Pikachu and we're back onto the Venusaur. We do exactly the same as last time, we send it to sleep, but this time we critical hit. That means it's going to be a 2-shot, and it's going to be a much quicker time to see our fate against Charizard. We try hidden power, but once again we get 1 shot by Flamethrower. We're getting desperate now. We're going to use our final 4 rare candies and go all the way up to level 76. Let's see if we do any better in this battle. We send the Pikachu to sleep, and once again we get on with the growing. We send it to sleep after the full restore kicks in, we get another growth. We send it to sleep once again, and providing this thing stays asleep, we'll be able to set up the rest of our growths. Of course, it wakes up though, and it paralyzes us with thunder. We're changing strategy slightly anyway. We're getting rid of the leftovers. We can heal up enough HP with Giga Drain. Instead, we're looking for the Quick Claw proc. That is going to be our way through the Charizard. We have a roughly 23% chance of the Quick Claw activating, so we'll outspeed the Charizard, and we know it's going to be a 1-shot with Hidden Power Electric. But of course, in order to get to the Zard, we need to get through the Pikachu, and we need to start setting up. We've got 976 in special attack at this moment. And that combined with another lucky critical hit is enough to 1-shot the Venusaur. Let's hope for the best against the Charizard. Flamethrower hits us, but we survive on 3 HP. We knock out the Charizard, and up next is Espeon. We've got to hope for a Quick Claw proc. It activates, and we regain some of that HP courtesy of Espeon. We can then start drinking the Snorlax. We take it deep into the red on turn 1, and we are back up to full health. We knock it out on turn 2, the final Pokemon is Blastoise. It's a 1-shot with Giga Drain, and this nightmare challenge run has come to an end. We have defeated Red in a time of 2 hours, 16 minutes and 5 seconds. Now this video was due to go out in between Xatu and Nidoqueen, and if you actually look at the schedule, you'll see there was a week between those 2 videos because I had nothing to put in its place. And at the time we're recording, that would have put Tangela in 45th place. And these days, 45th place would be a very respectable finish. However, back then we had only done 52 challenge runs, so we were in the bottom 10. For a little bit of perspective, this is what the leaderboard looked like back then. It was Kangaskhan in first, Apom in second, and Charizard in third. Venusaur was on the page 1 drop zone, and of course at the bottom of the table back then was poor Magcargo in 52nd place. But with that, we are done. I really hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, make sure to leave it a like. If you've got any feedback, leave it down in the comments below. And until next time, I will say thank you all so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, and I'll see you all very, very soon.